come up to say that it is actually recording. And that's now come up, so the meeting is recording, and I'll just take this adherent now. Councillor Bradley? Nothing from Councillor Bradley. Councillor Brogan?
Present.
Thank you. I see that Councillor Brown is here, Councillor Calicus is here, also Councillor Cowie and Councillor Fulton. Councillor LeBlanc's here. Councillor Lennon? Nothing from Councillor Lennon. Councillor Loudon is here, Councillor Nugent's here, Councillor Walker is here, and Councillor Wark is here. So just double checking, Councillor Bradley. And Councillor Lennon, nope, nothing from them. So I'll pass back to you, Chair.
Thanks, Pauline. Okay, do we have any declaration of interest? Okay.
Carol, sorry, Carol, I have.
Okay.
With the grants, Fernhill Community Together, I'm the Vice Chair.
Thanks, Margaret. Okay, do we have any questions or comments on the minutes of the previous meeting? Okay, I'll move them as a correct record then. Could I have a seconder, please? Thanks, Katie. Okay, we'll move to the community grant applications, agenda item number 3. The report requests approval for one community grant to Upstairs Kids Club Cambuslang for £1,000. Request authorisation to approve any further community grants from now to the 31st of March for the 2021 budget. And finally, to note the 4 community grants awarded in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. I know you declared an interest there, Margaret, but the grants have already been awarded. Do you have any questions or comments on the grants? Robert?
I wondered if I could ask you about Hope Amplify. That's quite a large grant of £1,000. Are they a local group? Or are they something more national? I don't know anything about them, I have to confess. And I just wondered just what the background to that was.
I think I'm right in saying, Janine, they're based in Rutherglen, aren't they? Hope Amplify.
No, I wanted to ask this question as well, because Hope Amplified used to be based in, you know, the wee unit above Boots on the main.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
They're no longer in there. And actually, as an aside, I was speaking to the manager of the shopping centre recently, and they're thinking about redoing all that and putting offices and things in, so that'll be good. But no, as far as I'm aware, the last time they contacted me, they were based in Glasgow. The office was, so I don't know, does that have any bearing on whether, you know, I mean, it's fine if they're based in Glasgow and they're, you know, working in South Lanarkshire. But yeah, it's coming up. I've just googled it. 2nd floor, suite 2, St Enoch Square, Glasgow. So, I mean, if they've got outreach or whatever that comes out to South Lanarkshire, great. I just don't know what the standing is, so I'd be interested to see what their application actually involved, and if we could get a wee bit more detail on that, that would be great.
The purpose of the grant, it was for Fernbury Meadows, so obviously that's in the kind of Fernhill area, and it was to provide isolation and poverty support for American families. Sorry, African families. Do you have any further information you can add, Pauline?
No, not in this particular one, because it's not one that we've actually administered, or although it's reporting back to this particular committee. But I'm happy to find out where they're based and give an update and a brief to members, if that would be helpful.
That would be great, Pauline. The grant was signed off. There was nothing untoward. The checks were carried out, but it was prior to Christmas, so it's not that fresh in my memory. So if that's okay, Pauline, that would be great.
Yeah, happy to do that, Chair.
Could I follow up slightly on that? I mean, I don't want to pursue it in too, like, as I say, I know nothing about it, whatever, but why did it not go? I mean, you said, Pauline, it didn't go through the normal committee process through our committee, but somewhere else. Why was that, for goodness sake?
It was when the, sorry, through you, Chair, it
course,
was
Tom.
when the £5,000 from each area committee was taken away to support the COVID outreach programmes, and because it had originally come from the area committee budget, we report back to the area committee, but it was an emergency measure, if you like, to make sure that communities were supported, and it was coordinated through another service in the council.
All right. Okay.
I think there is a briefing about it, which I'd be happy to send you.
Yeah, I think that may be helpful. I mean, I'm not trying to be difficult about this at all, because I say I don't know much about it at all anyway, but it seemed a lot of money for a group who I rather suspect there's not large numbers of members of the group in the area. You just want to know a bit more about it, you know?
I'll certainly find out some more information about that particular group and send it to you.
Thank you.
Any further questions on the grants?
No, I would just like to, if it's okay, I went out to visit Hope Amplified before, and they do a lot of sort of employability work and things like that with that sort of African community locally. But Robert's right. There's, given that, you know, that it's not a huge proportion of, I mean, that was certainly the difficulty that they were having was engagement and getting people to engage with them. So if they've found that and they're, you know, they're able to carry on, brilliant. But I just wondered as well about what exactly is it that they're doing.
That's fine. Happy to provide further information then. Thank you. Okay, I will move the I'll move the grants. Can I have someone second it, please? Thanks, Janine. Okay, and we'll move on to agenda item 4, which is items of business for future meetings, and we'll just open this up to discussion. Okay, Margaret.
Okay, thank you, Chair. This is in relation to a discussion that took place at the Standards Committee some time ago. There had been a number of elected members had maybe raised issues around the role of the area committee and the area committee possibly operating more as a scrutiny committee. And there was quite a discussion took place around, I think it was over a couple of meetings, it was in Lindsay Freeman's time. But anyway, to cut a long story short, the decision was that the area committee should be operating really more as a scrutiny committee. And it's just that I note that, I mean, particularly if you look at today, there isn't really an awful lot on this agenda. And obviously everybody, I was going to say around the table, we're not around the table, everybody here's time, you know, is at a premium. So I think it's important that as a committee, we're operating as a scrutiny committee. And I thought it would be an idea, speaking to a few colleagues, that we actually suggest some items that the area committee could be discussing over the next few months, because obviously we're moving into a really crucial time. There's a lot of things been happening in terms of how we deliver services, various reviews going on at the moment, and it'll be really important in terms of the recovery that the area committee is involved in terms of what, you know, services, etc., and what the issues are in relation to Rutherglen and Cambuslang. I think there's a lot of things coming up. I mean, obviously one is the review of the day centres. I mean, I think that would be an important issue for the area committee to be involved in and be involved in the discussions. I know the consultation process is still ongoing, so I think that would be an idea for one of the meetings, that we ask somebody to come and give the area committee an update on the consultation process and the possible redesign of day centres and what's going to be in its place in terms of issues around self-directed support, all of that. So I mean, that was one item that I had thought of. Certainly the Community Planning Partnership Board, I am not quite sure of the background to that, but I know Rhonda had been in touch about setting up the Community Planning Partnership Board for Cambuslang. I'm not sure how that ties in to, you know, the sort of neighbourhood plans. I know there's a paper at the last meeting around that, but that's a slightly different thing for a community planning partnership board. So I think as an area committee, it's important we get our heads around exactly what that is, if it's going to be across Rutherglen and Cambuslang. So that was certainly the two that I had thought of, and I know that other colleagues had spoken to me about other items they wanted on the agenda. So I'll leave it at that. But I think it's important the area committee starts to operate more as a scrutiny committee, and that it's maximising members' expertise and use of their time, rather than as maybe, you know, just having an agenda that lasts about 5 or 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thanks, Margaret. Just to follow on from some of the points that you made there, so previous meeting we've had the police come along, we had Rhonda present the neighbourhood plans. At the next meeting we have the Scottish Fire Rescue Service, we'll have a report on the Common Good Fund, and Rhonda will be coming back to present on the community plans, so that'll be good to hear. We will also have participatory, I always struggle to say that word, participatory budgeting forthcoming on the agenda too. Okay, with regards to day services, no problem with making a request to social work. I know when there's been, you know, maybe previously we could have came to the area committee, there's then been an awareness session that's been done for elected members. So I guess it depends on what's going to happen first in terms of timing. But yes, happy to look at that for the agenda. Robert?
Yeah, I just wanted to agree with Margaret about this. I mean, I've been quite keen for quite a long time to widen the scope of the area committee, because I think it should be a more, if you like, focus, not just on hearing reports, but on proactively trying to deal with issues that are coming up in the area. And I thought, for example, that the future layout of the town centres was approved. I know some things are happening in Cambuslang, but Rutherglen sort of lagged a bit in that connection. And I just thought there was some potential. Now, obviously, we've got a different context now after the COVID thing, with COVID recovery being the kind of the main thing. But we are going to have, I think, quite a big issue, aren't we, with empty shops and you know, the future of local businesses and stuff like that. In a way, it's a bit broader than just the council's normal agenda. But I think we need, as the representative local body, get a bit of a handle on some of this. Now, I haven't really worked it through in a way as to how you would do that. But for the sake of argument, if you took one of the subject issues as being the local economy kind of thing, or the sort of retail economy, if you like, then I think one could develop something that would be quite a worthwhile meeting, perhaps feed into the you know, the potential things that are happening at community enterprise as well, and the Lanarkshire, what's it called, the board thing that's looking at the future of the economy as well, and really have just a bit of an oversight of some of that sort of stuff. Now, that does require a bit of work, I'm well aware of that, but I do think we should actually be a bit wider in the kind of things we're looking at, and we are kind of on top of the things that are going to be relevant to the local people in Camglen.
Thanks, Robert. Katie?
Thanks, Carol. I agree with Robert to an extent, and I sound a note of caution there, and it was just when you mentioned Cambuslang Main Street, it made me think, oh, because we shouldn't forget that the work from that very much came from the community. It was community driven. So I'm uncomfortable with the idea of us sitting as some sort of scrutiny forum that tries to take ownership of what has been working very well. And we need to make sure that we're dovetailing in with all of the other work that Rhonda and her team are doing to actually work with communities. So Walter and I were at Halfway Community Council last week, and we had a presentation from Jan Taylor. And it was about the work that has been going on there in terms of community consultation and working, you know, all the way through the pandemic, still managing to get that level of engagement with local residents and have them drawing up priority lists for the local area and so on. That's the direction we've been travelling over the last couple of years, and hopefully will continue to travel as a council. That will have that level of community involvement, and things are driven from the community, and they're not necessarily driven through the community through our usual formal structures and channels. And I'm just very aware that if we're making any moves to be restructuring the area committee or looking at that remit, it needs to be done in that context. And we can't be the only people who are sitting here having scrutiny of sort of top-down plans about what we need, what we think Rutherglen Town Centre should have. There's obviously a place as local elected members to represent that community, but that role of representing the community shouldn't be taken away from their voices.
Thanks, Katie. Walter?
Just kind of leading on from what Katie said, there's a couple of things that the community's been working with on that the councillors didn't get any foresight of, and we had a good discussion at the Community Council on it. One was the Westbourne Carmyle Viaduct project, which is very contentious. And not only did the councillors not have any awareness of what was going on, we had no awareness of it from a community point of view as well. So I'd like to see something, and Sustrans, I believe, are leading it, although they haven't confirmed exactly what their intentions are. But I'd like to see something like that come to the area committees. And obviously, if we want to get the community involved, they're quite welcome to come along. But this is a very contentious issue, not just for Cambuslang East, but also for Cambuslang West, because it affects the traffic of people coming across the bridge from Carmyle in both directions. And there's been lots of antisocial behaviour in the past, and that's what both the Community Council from Halfway and I would guess Cambuslang as well, but certainly also Carmyle are worried about. On the other hand, the view is that if you open up the bridge, it can give you better facilities, and people can go for walks and bike runs. But we don't know enough about it. It came out the blue, and I'd like to see that come before so we can understand what direction. And let's face it, everybody loves to phone to the councillor when something like this happens. Mm-hmm. The other thing I'm kind of desperate to see coming onto the Community Council is what's our direction in terms of upgrading our play parks and sports facilities. Halfway Community Council have been pushing for ages and ages, and myself and the other councillors, for work to be done on the Halfway Park, and I haven't even seen a plan in the last 5 years to tell us what we're going to be doing with that park. So I think it's something we need to start pushing from an area committee perspective. Thank you.
Thanks, Walter. Did you want back in there, Katie?
Sorry, I had left my hand up, but I will actually come back in. And anyway, on one point, just I'll send this over via the Community Council as well, Walter, but specifically on the topic of the viaduct. What we need to remember with that is it's cross-boundary. So I have now been in touch with two of the councillors for the Shettleston ward and the MSP for Shettleston as well. So if we're having discussions about that, then we need to remember to get the input from both sides. She had yet another different story. I've now had 3 separate accounts of what Carmyle Community Council actually think, but I'll pass that on to you, Walter, and on to the Community Council as well, because it seems to be even more complicated again, but we need to bear that in mind if we're putting that on the agenda.
No, my colleague and Frank McAvity wasn't aware of it either, and yeah, there's different stories going about. We actually don't know what's going on, which is the big issue.
I mean, certainly from the correspondence from Stevie, I think it said there was a meeting on the 15th of March, so hopefully that will provide further information for you at that point. Martin?
Yeah, I think it would be great if we could have a discussion at some point, maybe get Danny Lowe from Housing in to talk about how we could maybe use some of the derelict brownfield sites in Rutherglen towards the strategic housing investment programme. I think that would be quite helpful. I've tried to kind of initiate discussions about that with Danny before. I think I've maybe not gone about it in the right way, but I think that would be great. It would be a great use of the area committee if we could all have an opportunity maybe to talk about that. And maybe identify other sites that aren't currently part of the programme that maybe could be locally. I think I've just been looking over the programme just now, and a lot of the house building, even the social house building in Rutherglen and Cambuslang, kind of tends to happen in that community growth area around Newton. But certainly in my own area in Rutherglen Central North, there's a lot of brownfield sites that I think maybe would be suitable for housing, and I think it would be good if the council were exploring that. So it'd be good to kind of put that on the agenda.
Thanks, Martin. Margaret?
Thanks, Chair. I just want to come in the back of what everybody else is saying, that I agree we should be expanding the area committee a wee bit. Just touching briefly on what Walter brought up about swing parks and play facilities and sports facilities. I would like to see that brought to the agenda as well, or the lack of sports facilities in Cambuslang. Even the likes at Eastfield, we all know it could be doing with, upgrading. We've got a severe lack of football parks, so I think that would be good to be on the agenda as well, Carol. Thanks.
Thanks, Margaret. Touching on that, so the area committee will be expanded. There's a proposed revised terms of reference as to what we can cover at the area committee. So just to kind of give a brief overview, so to contribute to the development of the South Lanarkshire Community Plan, receive an annual report of progress against the local community plan. So this will be on the agenda quite soon. To receive reports at the discretion of the area committee chair from local members, voluntary groups and community organisations on key local initiatives. So that's already taking place. To decide on delegated matters as determined by the council, including local planning, community and other local grants. So again, that's taking place. To carry out a scrutiny function at a local level in relation to participatory budgeting. Well done, I managed to get that out. So again, that will be coming at a future date. To consider the potential impact of a significant strategic policy investment proposal specific to an area and make recommendations to the relevant committees. So we've not had anything of that nature. To receive an annual report on the management of the Common Good Fund, and that will be taking place at the next meeting. To receive local performance reports from resources on key priorities identified in the council plan. To receive Educational Scotland school inspection reports, so we've had several of them, and to receive regularly locality updates in relation to health and social care, including inspection reports. Okay, so thank you for the discussions there. That's really useful. We'll certainly look at it, and we'll build on the agendas for forthcoming meetings. If there is any further suggestions on it, then please come to me directly. Happy to have a chat and to liaise with Pauline to get items added to the agenda. Okay. Any further questions on that? Comments? Okay, great. Well, we have no items of urgent business, so thank you for your attendance today and nice to see you all. Take care.
Thank you, Chair.
Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chair.
Bye.
Bye.